For our next panel, exploring the Multiverse, it's a little bit of wordplay there. It's actually about 3 different initiatives that is happening on Malta that are all connected to the Metaverse. And we're going to see a couple of world-exclusive demos in there. I'm not going to spoil too much. Our moderator for this session will be Alexiei Dingli, who is a professor at University of Malta, overseeing different emerging tech and AI. And he will be accompanied with his panelists, Beppe Scavo, Arne Peters, and Alistair Hume. Take it away.
So, hi everyone, and welcome to this panel. It's my pleasure to be here today. I'm Alexiei Dingli. I'm a professor of artificial intelligence at the University of Malta. And of course, you know, a big interest which we have is the metaverse. So what will happen, when it will happen, hopefully sooner than later. And with me I have 3 distinguished colleagues and friends, but I'll let them introduce themselves. So Beppe, would you like to go?
Yeah, hi everybody. Nice to be here. I'm Beppe Scavo, Head of Development at Draw & Code, based in between UK and Malta.
Thank you, Arne.
I'm Arne Peters, co-founder and CSO of Metaverse Me. Long time in the industry, game development, game publishing, and esports.
Okay, thank you. And Alistair?
Smashing. And I'm Alistair Hume, co-founder at Axon Park. And basically, 2-second summary, we are Metaverse nerds.
Okay. So let's start with some presentations. I'll invite you, Beppe, maybe to start.
Oh yeah, surely. If you pull it up.
Beppe will be talking about the Multiverse, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that's.
So we're very excited to see this digital.
Well, until they
Malta.
put it up, we kind of start introducing the Multiverse and the Metaverse and what really are what we're really talking about. And nobody knows. Many have speculated this Metaverse is like this world beyond the screen, this world beyond the headset. There you go. We're having it. Nice. Okay. So the Multiverse, right? So first of all, we start from what is the Metaverse, and I think I have a little bit of a provocative video to show a little bit. What's the Metaverse? Many have intended it to be a world beyond the screen, a world in VR, a separated world, escapism, this parallel world. What we believe the Metaverse is, we're bringing digital object to the real world. Right? Instead of, getting the humans to go into this fictional world, we're getting the digital object, the digital goods of whatever type into our real world. In order to do that, we kind of need an infrastructure, right? We need to understand. We need the machines to understand where we are in space, and we need the machines to understand the context. So this is just a video of a very nice video of a real estate, like what the real estate market or UX would look like in the future. What I like about it is that it kind of envisions a world where our interfaces with the real world are changing. They're not like we're not stuck into a screen where we have to look at and kind of separate ourselves from the real world, but we are immersed into the real world, and the machines, these interfaces understand the context around us. So understand where we are, understand what we're looking for, the kinds of information layers that we are interested in. And that's, for example, someone looking for an apartment and having to filter through reality pretty much. Okay, let's see if we can get to the next slide. Right, what is the Multiverse then? The Multiverse is, our take on it is we're trying to get our vision of the Metaverse a reality in Malta. So we're trying to, create this spatial digital platform where then people, developers, or the community itself can bring value to the real world by adding what we call, reality layers. So they are information layers that you can subscribe to, that you're interested to, or that, for example, the machine think that it's useful to you. So you can subscribe or unsubscribe from these different reality layers, and then you can visualize those all around you. So that's what, for us, the Multiverse is going to look like. And the other important problem about the multiverse itself is once we gather all this information, for example, the spatial data, right? We map this whole area, we map the whole island in a cloud point, and we know all about the geometrical shape of the island. Then who owns this data? Who does it belong to? And well, some big companies think that, like Google, think that it belongs to them. But we don't think that, because if it's a public space, the data should be public and belong to the public realm, right? Then why are we doing it here? Well, Malta is a really fostering environment for the digital sector, especially the immersive sector. High-speed network, tax reliefs, and especially when you're talking about spatial understanding and spatial reconstruction, digital twin. Malta is a very peculiar place because it's quite, self-contained, right? It's a small environment. It's kind of easier than most places to create this type of application. And why we want to create and invest into the multiverse is that we think it can service all sorts of industries, all sorts of sectors. It can serve the citizens. They can use the multiverse to create layers of crowdsourced information about traffic, road accidents, or environmental risks, or like even just the problem of the jellyfish on the beach in Malta is a problem, right? So that people tend to report those kind of problems, and they can do that spatially, but it can serve retail, it can serve tourism. Imagine someone coming to the island not knowing what to do. They just have to look around and look for what's around them, or look to the direction to the next retail shop, to the next heritage place. So it can service a lot of different industries and a lot of different reality layers. Now, how do we get there is also really important, because there's a lot of issues regarding, again, data governance. Once we capture the reality, who owns that? Who owns that data? And there's three technological partnerships that we are looking at. So the major competitors in this space, at least for visual positioning systems, are Google, Niantic, and UAR. Google is using the data coming from street maps to build this space where and this technology where you can just whip out your phone, look around, and understand where you are. Niantic, creators of Pokemon Go, they're using the crowdsourced data of people going around and playing Pokemon Go to create the same architecture. And then there's UAR, which is a smaller company but independent. We've chosen to partner with UAR, for example, because unlike Google and Niantic, who own their spatial data, UAR doesn't. Unless you decide who owns this data. And how do we create the product? Where do we stand in this market? For example, we want to create a platform to allow developers, then content creators, to easily drop content into the real world and have the rest of the world experience it. So what we've done so far, here should show this is a partnership with UAR. We built a couple of like verticals where, for example, this is an example of Airbnb app where the host has set up a few checkpoints for guests that go in and need to understand how the coffee machine works. So we've mapped a house of character, an old Maltese house, very, very nice. We direct first use case. You get in, you need to understand where's the kitchen, how to use the kitchen. Typical Airbnb use case. So we direct the person to the kitchen. So there's a spatial understanding, there's AI navigational mapping, and you direct the user to the kitchen to understand. There's no CGI. This is all AR. This is all done with the phone. Previously scanned with a phone, and then anybody else can use the same data on any other phone. You probably know how to use a dishwasher at this point. Then the second demo, if I can go next. Oh yes, that's our friends at UAR as well. We mapped a whole convenience store here in Sliema, and another good use case is shopping list. how much time do you waste just going around and browsing the supermarket, especially if they are big supermarkets? How useful would that be if we can just enter the supermarket and have glasses or a phone just direct us to what we want to buy, scan that in, and rinse and repeat, and that will make the experience much faster. For example, these people have helped couriers have the shopping, have their shopping for their clients much faster than previously. Before, I think their data shows that they halved the time of shopping within the supermarket, which then doubled the revenues of the couriers in turn. So these are some of the examples, but of course you can, imagine once you have that reality mapped into the digital world and brought into your reality, then the applications are really limitless, and it's up to your imagination. Who we are, Drawing Code, UK-based. It's our immersive studio. We've been around for more than 10 years. We've worked with all sorts of brands in all sorts of applications, but now we are here in Malta from a year on, and we opened our R&D division here, where we're going to explore the Multiverse. We're going to explore location-based entertainment. We are building our products, and these are all sorts of we work in we work in the immersive space, so all sorts of XR technology. We are technology agnostic, so we think about the applications and how people are going to interact with XR technologies more than the technology itself. And most importantly, we're hiring. So if you're looking for a job, and you're excited by the XR technology, just contact me. I'm going to be around this couple of days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beppe. You've mentioned jellyfish. I hope we don't have digital ones in
No.
the Multiverse, no?
Well, they're going to be less dangerous, I think.
Hopefully. Let's not forget that on the Metaverse, you also live over there. But the question is, how do you live? How do you present your persona? And I think Arne can tell us a little bit more about this, no?
Perhaps. Can we switch the slides?
And we have the next presentation.
So, Malta-based Metaverse Me, that's us. We are looking at the Metaverse from a slightly different angle. And what we're trying to do, actually, is to immerse people personally into the Metaverse. And Metaverse Me is building a platform to engage in the Metaverse, to do everything that people also like to do in real life. It's all about fashion, games, dance, music. And we use, maybe next generation technology, but from our perspective, it's already today's technology, like AR, like NFTs, and like the blockchain. And what's the most important thing in the Metaverse? It's me. Not me personally, but everyone, and everyone's digital persona, your digital self. So when you are acting in the Metaverse, when you are entertained in the Metaverse, or when you are educated in the Metaverse, one thing is always there, and it's you, it's yourself. And from that perspective, we've been thinking about how can you create a digital self that you can really identify with, that you can take to different types of locations, 3D worlds, but also real life. And for that, we have created an app, and I'm trying to show a demo in a few minutes, live, screencasted, that can project your own avatar, your me, into real-life locations. We have also developed 3D environments, and we're working on 2 games at the moment ourselves that we are developing that are going to use our me's. One of which is actually a game called Kickoff Evolution, and I'm trying to show that as well in a few minutes. It's a 3D 5 versus 5 multiplayer game. Every player can play his own avatar in the game. You basically create your avatar in the app, and you take it into the world and play exactly the same way your avatar looks in the app. And we're not doing this just ourselves. We're also working with third-party studios, with partners that use our Unity-based SDK to import the avatars into their 3D worlds, whether it's games, it could be educational environments as well. So you, with your me, can go anywhere, always the way you want to be. And I'm now trying actually to connect to this screen behind me. Let's see if it's going to work. And I want to show you. The app, how the app works, how you create your avatar, and also then how this can look like in a 3D world. And I have to restart the app. Maybe you can hold this for me. Thank you. So what you actually do first when you create your avatar, you take a selfie. And from that selfie, the app recognizes what you look like, and then you can start editing your avatar. So this is my avatar. Actually, I'm skipping the selfie process, but this is what I look like as an avatar. You can edit the way you look. You can edit your hair as well. So here I've chosen to make my hair a little bit like it used to look a few years back. So it's a little more red. But it's basically for you, your option to choose how you want to look and maybe adjust a little bit the reality of yourself. You can choose your dress, and you can freely choose every item of your dress and change that accordingly. I'm going to change to a hoodie, actually, of one of our partners, Blade, and I'm going also to choose their sneakers. There you are. If I find them, here you go. And you can have different types of items with your avatar, and those items are all wearable NFTs, actually, so you can interchange them, you can even trade them with other users, and choose whether you like the more exclusive styles or maybe the more mainstream type of styles. So this avatar, you then can take into the real world. And what happens then is that you have your avatar and you can project it into any space that you're in and do kind of performances, choose, oh, there you go, choose to record videos with it, actually. 1 second, there you go. So you can choose to record videos, you press record then, and you can instantly post that on Instagram, on TikTok, or wherever you want, or just send it to friends and show them where you and your avatar with your new digital clothing actually went. And this is one of the functions. The next function is actually going to show something. It's kind of a world premiere. We haven't showed this publicly at all. It shows that a live scene from our multiplayer football game, Kickoff Evolution, and that's actually not like a regular spectator cam like you see in esports. And me, myself, coming with an esports background, I'm personally very excited actually about this feature. We will have in this multiplayer football game a regular spectator mode, like you would expect. But we're also building a very new kind of spectator mode. And I need to go back. Sorry for that. And that is an AR-based camera mode. So now this is actually a live gameplay that is happening in Kickoff Evolution. And you can see and you will be able to watch the game in a 3D environment. Imagine yourself sitting around a desk with friends, drinking a beer or water or lemonade, and enjoying a live esports competition in front of you while you're still able to socially engage with your friends, especially when you wear AR glasses, right? You can just freely move your head. You can use your hands to do whatever you want to do. And you can watch this game. And my avatar is actually running around here somewhere. Let me see. I'm trying to find myself. Maybe I was just the one scoring the goal. But the really exciting thing here is that your avatar, the moment you create it, you can take it into any kind of 3D world that is connected to the ecosystem. And when you change your dress in the app, it immediately changes also in the game. So if I try, to change my dress in the app, or if I want to change my dress in the app, I can wear whatever I want in my next football match, in my next, learning session that I'm attending, or any kind of course. And that's what we think is going to be an important part of the metaverse, your personal identity and being able to take your identity anywhere you want. And the metaverse is still in its very early days, so is Metaverse Me, but we're making a lot of progress. I think in one of the earlier panels it was said, you overestimate what can be done in 1 year, and you underestimate what can be done in 10 years, and that, I think, exactly nails it. I think already next year we'll be launching Kickoff Evolution in a closed beta this year, and already next year a lot of people will be actually able to play the game with their own avatar. And that's kind of what we do here in Malta.
Okay. So thank you, Arne. So far we've seen, the Multiverse, we've seen the digital avatars that live on the metaverse, but of course, what do you do once you're on the metaverse? Maybe you do some sports, maybe you do some shopping. What about education, Alistair?
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this. So I want to kind of achieve two things today. The first is answer a question I get asked all the time. Even in the metaverse industry, I get asked the question, what is the metaverse? There's so much excitement right now about it, but also a lot of skepticism, confusion, and if you ask a million different people, you'll get a million different answers about what it is based on their own kind of predispositions and backgrounds. So I'm not going to tell you precisely what it is, but I'm going to try and give a few general overviews about why right now, this decade, is genuinely an inflection point in the way we communicate. Arguably, it started decades back when we started building video games and spatial computing, but we're hitting critical mass now. We're in the early stages, and there's a lot to kind of work through, but I think we're going to see some big changes in the future. So firstly, as I said before, my name is Alistair, and I work at Axon Park. Our aim is to radically transform immersive and remote education. Now, there's a number of reasons we're doing this, but I think the easiest way to sum it up is basically, well, let's allude back to exactly what Ivan said at the start of this morning, the thing that changed so many lives across the world, COVID. Now, I think one of the biggest groups of people that had their lives changed were students. All of a sudden, what was initially a social and incredibly engaging experience was compressed down into a little tiny screen. You were forced to stare at a laptop all day, go through slides, and if you didn't have a particularly nice home environment, you were trapped. How are you meant to learn in that kind of environment? So it became very clear early on in the pandemic that if immersive or remote education is to stay, it needs to become radically improved. So that's why we've started building Axon Park. Let's see if we can go through a few things. So as a warning, I'm going to be ad-libbing most of today, so the slides may or may not relate to what I'm saying, but I'm going to make up for that by showing you a few videos. So let's begin. This is basically the rough about section. On the left, I'll quickly kind of summarize, is what we call a digital campus, which is effectively a kind of social space for people around the world or around their own homes to kind of get together and meet. For a lot of universities, it's important for their remote learning, but for some universities that teach almost exclusively online, this is something they've never had access to before, a way to bring their students together. So I think the next slide should be the video. I'm going to show you some of what we've kind of been building so far. And this is all in Unreal Engine. This is the future of a classroom, in our opinion. So that's a brief overview of different parts of the project. Basically, the way we're kind of approaching this at the moment is we are trying to actively develop these tools with early pilot partners. So at the moment, we're working with a lot of universities in the US who are basically saying, right, OK, we've experienced teaching remotely, and we need to find ways to make it better. How are we going to do this? So there are two main problems. The first is the social side of things. How are you going to find a way to build a platform to get people into 3D space? As you saw there, start of the kind of first pass of our multiplayer stack is coming together to the point where we can all meet, hang out, explore these kind of immersive, almost museum-style education spaces. And then the other side of the challenge, the big side of the challenge, in my opinion, is how do you build and deploy content inside, well, our main kind of ambition is virtual reality. That's our kind of bread and butter. But as Ivan said as well, flat screen, mobile, it needs to be as accessible as possible. So whatever platform you've got, we need to support it. So typically right now, there is a massive challenge in the way this works. Basically, a university comes to a developer and they say, hey, we want to teach this course. OK, so we want to teach how to, I don't know, do this particular piece of surgery, how to assemble a jet engine. How do we do this? And the developer says, great, this is a really cool project. That'll be $600,000. And that's a problem. We need to find a way to make university professors on a Tuesday evening who have 3 hours be able to spin up a course for their students the next morning without having to spend tremendous amounts of money or first learn the logics and the syntaxes of being a developer, a game designer, a programmer. So the term typically for this is no code, but it doesn't quite cover what we kind of want this to become in the future. Let's see if any of the other slides we have are relevant to some extent. OK, there we go. Basic overview. So right now, we're kind of building a team to actively solve this. There are two main verticals. There's the programming and developing side, and there's also tokenomics. So don't worry, we're not crypto hype bros. And basically, our thesis with this is we want to find a genuinely transformative use case for these kinds of technologies, which is kind of the antithesis of dropping and hyping, say, for example, NFT projects. Not that I necessarily have anything against that, but we're more about finding ways to use these technologies to streamline the way people, say, for example, build and access courses. So at the moment, I think one of the biggest things we get is, why bother with virtual reality? It's too expensive, it's too difficult, everything's too basic. And my answer to that would be, if you remember, well, actually, I'm not sure how many people here might remember, but apparently it took 20 years for color television to catch on. 20 years. And during that time, there were countless news articles saying color television is a waste of time. It costs too much to make a color TV show. What's the point? No one has color TVs at home. Stick to black and white. It's what we know. It's better. Can you imagine if we had done that? The exact same thing on the internet. in the early 2000s, there would have been 100 articles coming out every week about why the internet was a fad, and it wasn't going to go anywhere, and there was nothing you could do on it. When was the last time you read an article on a popular newspaper about the metaverse being a fad? So our thesis is that because this technology is becoming so accessible, and it is already transforming certain industries, it's going to come, and we have to find ways to bring this to people. So let's move through very quickly. I'll skip over this, mostly because I want to keep this into 10 minutes, but if you want to grill us on this or have a chat, come find us. We believe it can be used properly, and so we're focusing very, very hard on that. At the moment, the way we're doing this is basically finding ways to connect students, creators and educators onto the platform. So at the moment, we're kind of piloting a lot of these no-code courses to make sure that the tools work for professors. We're sitting them down and saying, right, OK, you're able to deploy a quiz. You're able to test students in this way. You're able to deploy these kind of spatial, grabbable modules. Here's where you could put a presentation. Here's where you could record yourself talking and speaking as your avatar. Does that work for you? And if they say, hey, this is great, our students are responding well, we know that we can kind of compress this down into more scalable tools. If not, we can keep working with them to find the logics and syntaxes and best practices of this new frontier that we're stepping into. So the final thing I want to touch on is back to the question, why the metaverse? What is the metaverse? And the best way I would answer that is, for anyone here that has children, especially young children, have you caught them playing Minecraft or Roblox recently? For slightly older children, for example, my generation, it might have been The Sims, or even SimCity if you're old enough like I am. But something is happening right now, today, that is brand new, and that is everyday people are becoming radically literate in spatial communication and spatial thinking, much more so than ever before. My background's in architecture, and I trained for 7 years to learn how to articulate space. And there are 15-year-olds today, 12-year-olds today, that can build worlds that blow my mind using these kind of simple and accessible tools. We're getting to a point where spatial communication and using space is becoming the norm. We're having generations of children, students coming up expecting this kind of thing. Flat screen is no longer good enough. So we take it as our responsibility to find ways to help them make these things. But more than that, if we don't, they're going to build them on their own. This is, in my opinion, inevitable. We're not trying to force this. We're trying to manifest something that's already coming. So the final thing I'll show you is a few seconds of what we hope everyday students and creators and teachers will be able to make in the future. This is one of the parent projects that kind of lent its DNA into Axon Park. So it's more on the immersion side of things. But have a look at the way the space is designed and made and the way you can interact with it. This is what we're trying to give to the next generation of educators. So let's see if this is going to work. There we go. Lovely. Everything needs to be touchable and interactable and engageable, just like in the real world. Clicking is no longer going to be good enough. So I think this video goes on a little bit, so I'll try to keep it kind of brief. But effectively, we take the view that humanity has been walking towards the metaverse for a few decades now. It's going to happen whether or not we are a part of it, because these kinds of technologies are becoming so accessible to people. So I think it's going to be an incredible few years of seeing what people make, what the next generation create, and how they think. Ultimately, we want everyone to be able to step into and create worlds like that for education, for communication. The real world's never going to go anywhere, but humanity's never been very good at doing one thing. So this new reality is coming. And in the early days, it'll be simple. But over time, it might become more and more overlaid, more and more engaging, until it becomes a part of who we are. And we get to see that happen. So that's my thesis. Thank you.
Thank you, Alistair. Very insightful. So, we've seen a taste of the different phases, so the Maltaverse, how we will be represented over there, and what we'll be doing on the Metaverse as well. Unfortunately, we don't have more time, so we'll have to stop over here. But I'm sure we'll meet each other, and we'll keep on the discussion going. Thank you very much.
Thank you.